Hello, everyone. This is Miguel Penna with the Southern Florida Concierge Association. Thank you for joining us once again. If you weren't able to make our live Zoom call, you have the opportunity to either watch it here on YouTube or listen to it on our SoundCloud account. On today's call, we had Andrew from the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau giving us all the helpful information that we need to see where we've been and where we're going into the future. We had Wendy Kallergis with the Hotel Association reporting that hotel occupancies are up, ADRs are up, that's the average daily rate, and unemployment is down, which is a good sign. And then we also had Ceci Velasco talking about South Beach, Miami Beach, the city of Miami Beach, as well as their new plan for policing the streets and ensuring that there's safe and fun throughout South Beach and Miami Beach. So a lot of helpful information. Hopefully you can join us. It's about 40 plus minutes in duration. Thank you for participating. And if you're not subscribed, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the little bell so every time we post, you get notified. Thank you and have a great day. Hello and welcome to the SFCA podcast. Our goal is to inspire travel. We want to expose you to what Miami and South Florida has to offer. From Key Biscayne to Coconut Grove, South Beach to Calle Ocho and everywhere in between. Miami is a vibrant city and offers a wide array of popular attractions and venues. Come join us. Good morning, everybody. My name is Miguel Penna. If you haven't joined us before, I'm president of the Southern Florida Concierge Association, and we've been doing this little talk since May of last year. So we already had our 1 year anniversary and we're going into the fall now. A lot of great information and a lot of great things that we'll be talking about. Before we start, I'd like to introduce, for those of you who don't know our panel and those who do know our panel, I want to reintroduce you to them. We have the CEO and president of the Greater and Beaches Hotel Association of Miami, Wendy Kallergis. Welcome back, Wendy. We have the Director of Research and Business Intelligence for the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, Andrew Wobensmith. Welcome back, Mr. Wobensmith. And then last but not least, we have the Director of the Ocean Drive Association and soon to be awarded the Business Advocate Award for Hispanic Heritage Month by the City of Miami Beach. Congratulations, Ceci. That'll be on October 8th. So many great individuals here. We're going to get right into the business. So I'm going to kick it off with Andrew. Andrew, go ahead. Take it away.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me back. I really appreciate it. And it's a lot of fun for me to come out and talk about the things that are going on in the industry. I was talking to a friend recently and I mentioned some things about my job. And she said to me, "Don't talk about your job. It's not very interesting." And, I was a little hurt by that. And maybe some people feel that way, but I think it's really interesting. And I think there's a few people on this call that probably find it interesting too, right? Because we're looking at information and we're looking at information that is really pertinent to what's going on around us, not just in the hospitality industry, but really, a general picture of what's going on in Miami-Dade County and what's going on as a whole. So, I really enjoy it. I think, from a tourism perspective, Miami is just so fascinating, that I just don't really get tired of it. So, happy to sit here and talk about the information that we're collecting and some of these insights and where I think some of the things are going. So with that, I'll just jump right in here and start. So, and I know some of you have been on this call or last month. I don't know everybody who's been on this call. However, we'll just go over, this is some information that we're always sharing with our stakeholders. It's very simple to understand. We look at the Miami-Dade County, what we call the daily recovery indexes. What these are really are just drivers of demand. We're looking at some of the key drivers of demand for tourism coming into Miami-Dade County. So when we're looking at things like air travel, that means the number of passengers coming through MIA every day. When we talk about hotel, we're looking at the number of rooms that are sold every day throughout Miami-Dade County. And then with dining, we're able to understand more about in-house seated dining, the volume of in-house seated dining at restaurants across the county here. So, looking versus 2019, which so many of us are talking about as being the normal, right? Or where we want to get to, I should say. A year ago, air travel was only 25% of what it was in 2019. Hotel and dining were about 50% of what we would normally see. Fast forward to 1 year later, you see obviously there's a tremendous amount of improvement. Those bar charts at the bottom have a visual, but up top here you'll see air travel 83.4%, hotel just about where it was 2 years prior, dining just off the hook. I mean, I think we all can agree when you want to get a reservation in a restaurant in downtown Miami, you have to try a little harder than you did in the past. So, these are good metrics to look at. We, update these things every day on our website. So, I encourage you to check out our website every day as these things are posted. So there's been a lot of good activity recently in these areas. So with that said, just want to jump into some visitor volume numbers. These are numbers we calculate to be the number of actual visitors that come to Miami-Dade County. And last month I shared that Q1 was a little sluggish. That was driven obviously by international traffic that's just not here yet. However, Q2 has really been some great news in that we've actually exceeded our visitor volume in Q2 from 2 years ago by almost 12%. And that was driven by this extremely strong domestic market, right? So, even though that we still lag in international, it was this domestic market that really just put us over the mark. So we're very happy about that. Cumulative for the year, January to June, I think a lot of destinations would agree that if they end up for the entire year at 6% down from 2 years ago, they'll take that. And I know even we would probably take that. So we're happy to see that visitation continues to improve here, even without our international, market so much, even without things like as many meetings, or we'll talk about in a few minutes about cruise, which is here, but not certainly the volume that we used to have. So, let's talk about the air for a moment. Let's take a look at MIA, and let's compare it to the rest of the country. So we know, we've talked about this before, you've probably heard about this in the news, that Miami is one of those destinations that's leading the country in terms of recovery. We have been outperforming. That little red line there, that is our performance. The blue line is performance of all the airports in the United States. And you can see, this is just another index because I like indexes so much, that we can see here that MIA has just pulled away, particularly in the early spring. We just started to outperform the country so much, and that has continued throughout pretty much the present day. Although the gap has closed a little bit, we can still comfortably say that MIA has just led the recovery. And a little anecdote there is that we are now the number one airport in the United States for international passenger volume, which is really great. We know being an international destination, that's so important. Just for some perspective, the normal mix of international domestic passengers through MIA is normally about 50%, 50-50, we want to round off. Looking from a year ago, we were only at 28% international traffic coming in through our airport. Fast forward 1 year, the improvement is up to 42%. So we are reaching back to what we've seen in the past. So very encouraging that these signs are going on. I know everybody, including myself here, is just anxious to see some of these other markets come back online in Europe, because we think that once Europe really picks up, is really able to come back, we're going to see some more improvement in those numbers. So this is some information that I pulled from kayak.com. You're certainly welcome to go to the website and pull it yourself here. But what this does is we're looking at the weekly flight search pace, and these are in the top hotel markets, so we get a better idea of where we're at versus other markets. I think what I want to talk about here is really just say, we've all seen decline, in these different factors more recently, very recently. It's not just us. Fortunately, it's not just us. And you can see here going back in mid-July is where we really started to drop. We were among some of the most searched destinations in our hotel markets here. We've slid. However, as you can see, it's just not just us, and it's really across the board and pretty consistent. When you look at the top destinations, about a third. We're getting about a third of where we were 2 years ago. So while there's been slide, it's not just us. We'll continue to watch this, or you can go to kayak.com and also, watch this for yourself. So, there is some hope for the future, and I'll share about that in a moment. Looking ahead, looking at the booking pace of what's coming into MIA, and we can look at the inbound air travel that's been booked through travel agencies, which would include OTAs. I'm told it's about 50% of all the tickets sold into MIA come through one of these channels here. Comparing to 2 years ago, what do we see going on here is that we see domestic and international are both down, but of course, domestic, the pace is less down. And really this pace that we see for September is pretty much on par with where we've been at. So there hasn't really been an awful lot of movement there. We see further down the pike, yes, there's definitely a lot of softness going on. International has not yet recovered. That's just those are the realities of where we're at right now. We continue to look at these numbers every month. We pull these numbers for the upcoming 6 months. This is also on our website. You're welcome to go to our website every month. Around the beginning of the month, you can go and see where these figures are for the upcoming 6 months. I'm taking a look at hotel occupancy trends. We can see here this 52-week trend where we started a year ago was certainly not where we are now. That dotted line represents where we were 2 years ago versus now where we've been performing. And you can see that this strong performance, particularly going into Q2, as we talked about, we hit occupancy. We hit occupancy where we were pre-pandemic, which was very encouraging.
Andrew looks like he froze. Oh, I don't know if he lost his connection. Andrew, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Perfect. Continue.
Apologies. I don't
for
know
a second, you got it froze for a second.
I got this funny message on my computer as well. Maybe I have a little virus. I don't know. In any event, I don't know where we left off here, but you can see that the trend for hotel occupancy has improved. More recently has decreased, and we know why that is. So fortunately, as I mentioned, you hoteliers out there, I'm sure plenty of you, ADRs have just been amazing. They've been amazing. They've been amazing for quite a while. Miami has been the top when it comes to ADRs, which is such a great thing to say. So while we've seen some declines in occupancy, we know that with these really strong ADRs, the RevPAR has resulted in many cases to be very favorable. So that is good news. It continues to be good news. Looking towards the future, we're looking at the 6-month future pacing. This is through TravelClick. So, this is actually one of my favorite stories to tell, only because of all these different things we're hearing out there. I've heard recently, that there's been a slowdown. Of course, we know about this. Some people say, oh, well, there's been, some cancellations for meetings and conventions. What does that look like on the books here? And yes, we have seen a lot of short-term. It's been the short-term business that's been canceling, and we've seen that go down. However, what this is demonstrating is that we are seeing stronger pacing activity than we have in the past. And those lines, particularly when you look at the purple lines, that's just me indicating that this pace has increased. Every week I look at this and look at the next 6 months, and this pace has continued to increase. So, this is still positive news, folks. This is not negative. As we look out towards the future, and I'll say it again, this is on our website. I update this every week, so you're welcome to go in and check and see our progress. On this whole page here, those pink and red lines represent the pacing of the last couple of weeks. While the last week was a little flat, it kind of trended on par the week prior. Still, we're up, so folks. So further out in hotel, it still looks promising. Airbnb is a contrast. We can see that Airbnb has continued to trend downwards. That has just gone consistently week after week here. But I think something that to note, and we sort of saw it in the hotel side, is that we've throughout the pandemic, we've seen some shorter booking windows, and we are hoping and thinking that maybe we're starting to return to some longer booking windows. Certainly looking at this chart here, we see that while the pace of bookings has decreased across the board for Airbnb, we see here that it's gotten heavier and heavier, and really it's out further out. So the pace for bookings for Airbnb is further out, as evidenced by this data. So, this little piece came across my desk from Destinations International recently. We've all been thinking about the cruise industry, and I wanted to talk about the cruise industry for a minute or two here, since we really haven't talked about it a lot. So, they have a study, a tracking study, Destinations International, and they have some cruise questions here. And among those cruise questions, they talked to cruisers, and they specifically asked cruisers who wanted to travel during the pandemic and couldn't, did you replace your trip with some other type? And so according to their study, about half of those cruise travelers that wanted to cruise instead did something else. And we see the top reason, the top destination, they said that they wanted beach destinations and resorts, which intuitively we know that was certainly, a driver here in Miami and other places that had beaches, followed by cities, followed by parks, maybe some small towns here. But I wanted to illustrate here it was interesting to look at the different generations to see who was really driving this and where they were going. And we can see here those boomers. I know we don't have that many boomers on this call, right? I'm a millennial. That's just I'm just teasing a few people. The boomers seem to like these resorts, right? Looking at beach destinations, resorts, looking at places like ski resorts and so forth. That seems to be where they gravitated when they couldn't go to a cruise, as opposed to some of these younger generations, our millennials, where we've, sort of gone towards parks. We've gone to places that are more active, right? Looking at millennials as an example, you can see that theme or amusement parks, almost a third of them decided to do a theme or amusement park instead of not being able to go on a cruise. So that being said, this information came to me from my friend in Greater Fort Lauderdale. So if it hasn't been updated, forgive me. This is a constantly changing thing here. But most importantly is we're back. Cruises are back. Okay. So, and by the way, bonus points to anybody who can comment about that little red ship in the top and tell us what the name of that little red ship is up at the top. There's a hint in this chart. Maybe you'll get it. Maybe you won't. So looking here, the cruise industry is back. We've already started. You see that this summer, quite a few cruise lines have gone back out. Looking ahead here, we see that we've still got quite a few that are launching here, both in Fort Lauderdale as well as Port Miami. And perhaps my most exciting one to my standpoint is looking at the Virgin line and seeing that finally we're going to see that beautiful ship. And if anybody hasn't guessed by now, that little red ship is the Scarlet Lady, right? So hopefully with everything, fingers crossed, the Scarlet Lady will be out at the end of this year. So, not the same story. Almost 2 years ago, I was giving this presentation and it was all about, and, I gave so much time to Virgin. We've got the Virgin trifecta going on here, right? We've got the Virgin Hotel. We've got the Virgin ship. We've got the Virgin line. We've got a high-speed rail, right? So, obviously that story kind of crumbled for a while, but now I think I can start to pick up the pieces again and start talking and being proud that yes, the Virgin trifecta is back. Maybe it's the bifecta right now. I'm not so sure about the Bright line as of yet, but we're seeing these signs of improvement and some hope down here in the horizon. So you lifted this right off. This calendar comes right from the Miami Beach Convention Center, looking at some of these events that are coming up. As many of us are aware, Florida SuperCon is coming up this weekend. So, if you have your favorite superhero costume or your furry dog costume, you can wear that down there at the Florida SuperCon and get your geek on. That's this coming weekend. We have some other businesses coming down the pike here. International Floriculture Expo is something that made me think about something. I'll just share a short anecdotal story. I'm from the Philadelphia area originally, been here for about 13 years now. And there's a very popular flower show up in Philadelphia, and that would be the Philadelphia Flower Show. My grandmother was a judge in the flower show, and she was a fanatic about certain types of flowers. In particular, she was a fanatic of the daffodil. I don't know how many people know what a daffodil is, not as common down here in South Florida, but she had a whole room of her house devoted to daffodils. She liked to go down and judge daffodils. That's the daffodil story. But what I will say is, being from the north, when the spring is coming is when the daffodils start popping up. And the daffodils don't care when they pop up. And I see Wendy shaking her head because she knows. And being from the north, when you look at those cold winters, I can remember seeing daffodils pop up through the snow. So no matter what kind of a winter we're still having, we know that there's hope, right? There's hope for us when we were in the north. In the future here. And I want to say that because I think that's really what's going on here, is we are seeing the daffodils pop up, and they don't care about the weather, right? People want to travel. People want to get out. The cruise ships are ready. We're ready. We're ready for meetings. So we can see here that things are popping out here. At the end of this month, Sea Trade is coming back here. Going into October here, we see that there's still other groups that are coming here. This is just certainly at the Miami Beach Convention Center. I know there's activity going on all over the county here. Just want to point out here, the auto show is back. And for any of us here, it's exciting. Want to see what those new, right? Ceci's like, yes, I am too, right? So it's back, and it's back here for over a week. So looking forward to that, folks. We know that's a huge driver here. Hundreds of thousands of people have come in the past to these shows. So, looking forward to seeing that there is hope in the horizon here. As I said, the daffodils, they're coming out. So, I want to pivot for a moment here. We survey a lot of people in Miami-Dade County. Actually, on a normal year, we survey about 15,000 people. So we're not shy. We have boots on the ground all over Miami-Dade County talking. We also go online. This is where we talk to our Florida residents. We try to understand a lot of things about our Florida residents. We also ask them about future travel plans because we think that's a good barometer of where things are going. And as we know, Florida residents are probably most prone to visit other places within the state of Florida. However, that's not always the case. We can see they like to go other places here. While Florida still continues to be popular, I just want to point out here that if we can look at this as reading the tea leaves, looking at some of this stuff like Caribbean destinations, international destinations, they're starting to pop up here on the map. So maybe there's a few folks out there that want to spread their wings a little further. I think so, and they're saying, maybe not Florida, maybe somewhere else. So, just something to keep a watch on. We'll update this data every month as it comes in here, but still very, very encouraging. That being said, these Florida residents we talk to, those that say, we're not likely to visit Miami in the next 6 months, we ask them why. I shared this last month. We've updated this. We've been watching this since last fall. And the good news here is we're looking at these barriers to visiting Miami. They have diminished over time quite a bit to where they are now. In the beginning of the pandemic, we saw that the most common reasons for people not coming to Miami were being afraid of COVID, being afraid of not knowing where things are in the destinations. They're not sure about what restrictions are going to be in place. Those were the top reasons. Fast forward to today, we can see here that most of those barriers have decreased down to a very low level, although they have increased, in the last month. And again, we can talk about that. We pretty much know why that is. So they have increased, but I think the one here that just continually pops out here is that those people that aren't likely to come to Miami are saying because they want to go somewhere else. They want to go somewhere, outside of Florida. And that makes sense. A lot of us want to spread our wings. We want to get out. We've been there, done it in Florida. Now that we can see we can get out a little further, we're going to get out, we're going to get out a little bit further. So this is interesting to watch. These develop, as they develop. I want to mention here, and we'll talk about it in a second here, but I think it's important. We've always talked throughout this pandemic about tourism and how important it is to be, safe, how important it is to communicate to travelers that our places of business are clean, that we've communicated these cleanliness protocols to our customers. However, I want to point out here, and this comes up in research, that while that's an important concern of people, understand that one of the big drivers to destinations is whether things are going to be open or not, and having knowledge, that they're going to go to a destination, what kind of restrictions are going to be in place, and what's open. So keep that in mind, that you're making sure that your folks who are coming here are well informed about the restrictions that are in your destination. And I'll share this. I was recently in France. I was in France a month ago, of all places, right? Went to France. I have a friend, she's French. And while we were out there, it was very confusing. I would not have been able to navigate France in a good day. But even while I was out there, they have, French citizens are supposed to have this vaccine passport. If you're, and it was really hard for me going on websites to try to understand what those restrictions were for me on how to get there. Once I was there, I had to get a PCR test. If I wanted to go in to a restaurant and literally sit in a restaurant, I needed a PCR test. It was good for 2 days, right? So not exactly the most convenient thing to do. Maybe I would have picked another destination if I had known how difficult it was. On the other hand, if you're a hotelier or somebody in our industry who is facing these issues, make sure that that what those things are and be able to communicate them very clearly, as well as keep those things up to date for your customers. That said, we'll just sort of end on this note. We look at traveler sentiment studies. They've been a pretty interesting indicator of where we're going. They weren't a year ago, and I say that because we were in the midst of a pandemic and people were surveying. Nobody knew what was going on throughout the pandemic. How could I ask anybody like, hey, where are you going to travel? No, we're all closed. So, they couldn't really share that. The point I make is that now when you look at these studies, they're actually really interesting and they're actually really informative here. So as we know, these are the two most popular travel sentiment studies out there. And we can see the concerns about spread of COVID, Delta strain popping up the most. That's really where we're seeing the most angst. Again, it's not just us. I've heard people here talk about, well, what about Florida? There's things going on in Florida. It's everywhere. It's not just us. We did see a lot of improvement for Labor Day, but we know that would have been better, had it not been for the COVID variety. A couple of really interesting things that popped out here. The appeal of out-of-state business trips and conventions have continued to improve among those that are employed. So people are feeling more and more confident about getting out. This is really great news, folks, for the folks, that are relying upon meetings and conventions. More and more people are now saying in the beginning of the year, these people who want to take these out-of-state business trips are saying that they're more likely to be happy to do so. So, that being said, that's pretty much it. We do see here that even in the Longwood study, the vast majority of people are still planning travel in the next 6 months. So for now, I'm going to look at what's going on as a short-term thing. We'll continue to update you folks as we go along here. There are still people here, and at the very bottom, I highlighted this because this is exactly what I was talking about in the last slide. 44% of these people that were surveyed, they said that having no travel restrictions at potential destinations is important to them when making their plans. So the travel restrictions that we do have at our destinations, as well as communicating that message of what it is and what it isn't, is very important for us as we move forward. So I'll wrap up with that. Any questions, happy to answer those. And of course, this deck will be available to any of you folks that would like it.
Andrew, we thank you very much for your presentation. Great job. We do have a couple of questions that came through the chat. Maximilia Vanilla asked, do we see the same trend, I assume, in the travel trend in August, which is passed into September?
A little bit. I mean, when we look at the hotel booking activity, we still see some dropping. People have been canceling some of their short term. It's too early to see what it will be in September. Right now, it looks like a continuation. I'll say that it looks like a continuation of what we're seeing right now. So it's not any worse, not any better.
And then you may or may not know the answer to this. Charlotte from Viscaya asked, how easy is it for Canadian citizens to travel to the U.S. right now?
Last I heard, we were on, and please correct me because I'm not great at keeping up with the amount of information here. I believe they put us on. There are some more restrictions for us to go up to Canada. So and I know right now up there's a big talk about vaccine passports. So there's definitely going to be.
Regarding Canadians coming down here? Do you know anything about that, or just going?
Other than what I've mentioned, that's all I know.
Okay. All right, I did see a couple of headings in the news. I try and prepare for this as much as I can. Yesterday on CNN Travel, for U.S. citizens, the CDC recommends not to go to the Bahamas, Haiti, Kosovo, Lebanon, Morocco, St. Martin, Jamaica was just added to the list yesterday, or Sri Lanka. And then also now we've been put on a bad boy list, so to speak. As of Saturday, some people going to the Netherlands can have to go through a vaccination period or a quarantine period, 10 days to enter the Netherlands. And a lot of the 27 EU countries are now not banning, but restricting US travel as well. So that just came out a couple of days ago. You may want to look. Spain, Denmark, other European Union countries are tightening COVID restrictions for US tourists. That came from the USA Today from yesterday. And so things are changing. They are changing, but hopefully things will start now that we've passed the holiday and we'll start moving forward. Hopefully with this cold weather, things don't spike either. And people will migrate to the south since it's not so cold, except for a couple of days out of the year. And we'll reap the benefits of not having such cold weather. Thank you very much, Andrew. Does anyone else have a question for Andrew before we move on? No? Okay, I'm going to pass the microphone off to Wendy. Wendy, how are you today?
I'm great. How's everyone?
Good, thank you.
So I'd like to congratulate Bill Talbert because he's going to be honored tonight with the Visit Florida at the Diplomat for the Florida's Tourism Hall of Fame. He's very excited about it, and I just wanted to congratulate Bill for yet another fabulous award. And congratulations, Ceci, to you for your award next week, October, right?
October 8th, yes.
October 8th. And also we've got Deanne Graham with us today, and she is one of the nominees for the Tourism Professional of the Year, which is the luncheon that the Academy of Hospitality and Tourism is hosting on September 30th. George Neary has been really working very hard, and the committee, Josie, everybody is doing a great job. We have a great turnout, and we hope that you can join us. We have a great list of nominees: Steve Atkins, Rolando Aedo, Troy Wright, Julie Grimes, Peter Ritchie, and Charles Krupp. Is it Krupp or Krupke? I think it's Krupke, right? With Dragonfly Expedition. So that's a great group. So we hope that everybody on this call is coming to the luncheon, and we'll send the invite out.
Perfect. How are the hotels doing as far as not so much occupancy, but hiring? There's any job fairs coming up?
Yeah, a lot. Actually, and by the way, the unemployment rate has dropped to 6.9%. You saw that probably in David Whittaker's e-news on Sunday. So it's really, I think schools back in session. I think, and I said this for months, that, the employees, if they were able to be home, I think they wanted to be home with kids, so now school is back, and it's definitely getting better. We do, as Andrew was sharing about the occupancy, and, what's going on over the next few months. It's just, it is what it is. And, we have to, it's also fall. It's also the time of year too. So definitely a lot better. So we're happy to see that those numbers dropped.
Perfect. And did you mention the InKey Awards in October?
So we're right now we're making a decision on what we're going to do with InKey. Quite honestly, we just did a survey to our hotels. It's highly likely we're going to postpone it because we had 900. We have 700 to 800 to 900 people on average for the InKey Awards. So most likely we'll be postponing it to next year.
To next year?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think it's the right thing. I just think it's the right thing.
Of course. Understood. So it's not definite yet, but that's probably where it's going to trend to postpone it for another year.
Yes.
Okay. Very well. Thank you very much, Wendy. Any other topics you want to discuss?
Well, we're excited about Formula One and Ultra next year. And that's going to be, as Andrew said, we've got conventions, we've got so many wonderful things going on. But I also encourage everybody, I hope, to get vaccinated because that's really important because Florida's numbers is not good across the country.
No, indeed. And we're again, if not at the epicenter, we're very close to it. So thank you very much, Wendy. Ceci, are you ready? Ceci's got her picture up. I don't know if she's available. Hold on. Let me see. There she is. Hello.
I'm here, but they just started drilling in my condo. So I have really loud construction noise in the background. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you perfect.
Okay.
We're good. So there you go. Go ahead.
Okay.
You can talk.
So what did you want? Everything's going. So to capitalize on what everybody's saying, Andrew has great information and I love getting all of that. That data helps us. I know that you wanted to talk, we had that horrible instance on Ocean Drive. It seemed isolated and unrelated to everything. Two men's lives were ruined. The 22-year-old that was experimenting with mushrooms and the 21-year-old that stood in front of his child to defend his family. That's a horrible thing. And it's a horrible thing. I say it's not unrelated and it's not isolated. It happened in the middle of the afternoon on a Tuesday at 6 p.m. It is something that we have been saying that there's an issue about filling the void in South Beach. And we have been saying it doesn't really have anything to do with the late night entertainment. We've been closed for 18 months, anything past midnight. We're Disney. South Beach is Disney. It's an attraction all into itself, but it's like all the rides in Disney are closed, but they still let you in the park. So if you can liken it to that, that's kind of where we are. We don't have, we now have some meetings and conventions coming to our beautiful convention center. And that's what used to fill our streets and our venues and our hotels. We now have programming in the park that we didn't have. We are going to have Pride coming up. So we're expecting close to 100,000 people in the Lummis Park and Ocean Drive area. But, as David Wallach, we all love David. He's an icon. He's pretty much the godfather of Ocean Drive. Been at Mango's since he was a little boy, long before it was Mango's. What he says is when the lights go out, the cockroaches come out. So when there are no lights and there's a lot of people and congestion, you've got a lot of this underlying stuff going on. We don't sell hallucinogenics in the nightclubs. You don't have that going on, but you do have now this kind of void. So I'm really excited about Pride. Pride Village is happening. We are going to have the Pride Parade. The cafe extensions are all going to be retracted. So it's going to be this beautiful Pride Parade on Sunday, September 19th. That weekend is going to be the Pride Village. However, their Pride Week-long festival is going to start. Actually, it starts this Friday with all of their different satellite events. Those are the type of events that we're known for as a South Beach destination. Not even Ocean Drive. Ocean Drive is kind of the glitter Art Deco cultural district. Wonderful evolution. It's going to take a while for that to happen. It's not going to happen overnight, but these activations are strong. We'd like to see more police out on the street. We're really supporting the mayor's initiative that he's taken some of the police detectives off of their desk and he's putting more police on the street. That's really important to us, especially when something like this horrific incident can happen in the middle of an afternoon on Tuesday. So we'll see a lot more safety issues in the South Beach district, in the South Beach area. I have a little bit, I mean, I know it sounds good. We don't need an entertainment district anymore, but quite frankly, there's only 4 entertainment venues in the entertainment district. 95% of the entertainment venues are not in the entertainment district. They're outside of the entertainment district. And quite frankly, the historic nature of these buildings don't really lend themselves to be converted to something that's more of a nightlife venue. Most of the restaurants are in lobbies of hotels. They're not going to turn into a nightlife venue. Those 5 o'clock licenses are reserved for, the odd wedding reception on occasion or New Year's Eve for sure. But we're looking forward to participating in elevating the standards. We are, Airbnb is legal in our zone. So we do have a lot of small hotel rooms. A lot of people are trying to capitalize. They've had a low cash flow over the COVID year. So we're looking at all of those different factors, but I don't think anything is completely unrelated or isolated. I think everything compiles. And I'm seeing this wonderful work with, David Whittaker and as the new CEO, Bill Talbert staying on board with all of his background and his relationships. Andrew stepping up, which I love seeing Andrew because he's got all the data and data drives. It's great. And also our partnerships with the Hotel Association, with everything else. We have so much going for us. So I only see the way up right now. We've got, the South Beach, the Selena Hotel is now going to be the Gabriel South Beach. Very excited about them. They're going to start opening. Probably you'll see some friends and family concierge events over there in October, right? And then they're probably going to be fully open by November, hopefully long before our Basel. I see the classic Park Central South Beach, Gabriel South Beach, like the bookend with the Betsy on the other end and the beautiful Victor Hotel and the Versace in the middle. So my vision for Ocean Drive isn't tomorrow, but it's long term. But we need more safety for tomorrow. Our staff members need to really feel safe. Our guests need to feel safe and our residents need to feel safe. So those are kind of the things that are going, but I'm really excited about the Gabriel South Beach, and it's Think Hospitality, and they're opening 3 restaurants in the Gabriel South Beach. And I have great news about the News Cafe. That I'm just going to tease you on that one, but there is something really exciting that's going to be opening in that corner on 8th. They've signed all the papers. They're going to launch, and it's going to be very, very exciting right there on the corner of 8th and Ocean.
Cool. So now are there going to be 2 Gabriel hotels? You have the Gabriel. No, it's one Gabriel. There's a Gale and a Gabriel.
It's there's a Gabriel like downtown area. And then there's the Gabriel South Beach, which is going to be the Park Central, which are really 4 buildings. It's it's over 130 rooms. I think Wendy might know better. I think 137.
Yeah, and the Gabriel is like its own brand. Yeah, that's great. We're so excited too.
Are they affiliated?
It's going to be part of the Imperial collection.
Okay, perfect. And then you'd mentioned that the mayor now wants to pull detectives off desks and put them out on the street. Is there a shortage of police officers at the moment, or?
So we have some police officers that are retiring. We hired with the new budget. I mean, this is all, nothing happens overnight in government, and for a reason, right? Because there has to be transparency and, all the commissioners have to come together, but the budget is passed only once a year. So for the past 6 months or so, we've been working on and lobbying for more police officers. So the budget was passed in July. They've been hammering out some of the budget terms. They've infused code enforcement and police with a lot more resources, but it takes a full year for a new police officer to come on board. They have to be recruited, they have to go through training, and then they can hit the streets. So you don't hire a police officer and then tomorrow they're on the streets. So there's going to be a gap. And this is the reason he's reassigned some people to cover that gap during the interim. So the detectives will go back to being detectives. But for right now, right, we have Pride coming up. We have a lot of, we're going to have our Basel coming up. This is season. So to reinforce the streets and the level of safety, They've reassigned people to cover that gap. And then when we get over to spring break again, we will have an infusion of new police officers because that will give them time to train and put them on the street.
Understood. Now, this past weekend was a special holiday weekend, so I did see the heavy police presence on all the street corners. Will that happen as well for Pride Week as well?
Yes, and Pride, actually, whenever there's an organized program, they have to hire the off-duty and they have to have security. That is the difference. Spring break is not an organized program with a permit. Spring break is organic and it just happens. So there's no requirements for sanitation, off-duty, security, or anything like that. Pride is a special event permit, which the city requires them to have off-duty security, additional sanitation. And on top of that, right, there will be that police presence that's already there as a baseline. So Pride has always been just this wonderful, wonderful event for us on South Beach. We honor it. We revere it. We love the fact that they celebrate differences and are completely embracing. And it fills our hotels, and people come and they spend their time in our restaurants. And it really is kind of our Black Friday, during Christmas. Perfect. That starts off season.
Excellent. Thank you. There was a clarification. There is a Gabriel here in downtown on 10th and Biscayne. So that would be the other Gabriel, I assume. So there's a Gabriel in downtown Miami, and then there's another Gabriel in South Beach. Perfect.
So the Gabriel South Beach is an A-Rod investment group.
Oh,
so
nice.
So A-Rod put his name on that one. Yeah.
So he's part of the ownership.
Yes.
Cool. We may see A-Rod in the lobby, give or take, if we go.
Beautiful. And a lot of sports, a lot of sports celebrities and that type of thing.
Nice. So
we're looking forward to it.
All right. Any questions from anyone? While you give that a thought, I'm just going to, for our concierge members, we have, and all our hospitality professionals, we have a few things coming up. We are getting back into business as well, into full swing. We have a night at Dare at the Seminole Hard Rock coming up later on this month. More information to follow. We're working on an SFCA mix and mingle aboard the Poseidon Ferry coming later on this month as well, in conjunction with Liquor Split. And then we have a concierge networker on the Thriller at Bayside in conjunction, hopefully, with the Hard Rock Cafe. And then another mix and mingle in South Beach at Octi. That's the new darts place south of 5th. And then very excited, we're going back to Vizcaya either towards the latter part of this year or the beginning of next year. For those of you who don't remember, that was one of our pinnacle events, if I could use that terminology, and that we stopped doing that back in 2009, and we're going back to Vizcaya. We generally had anywhere from 300 to 500 people in attendance, food and beverage, music, everything. So it'll be a really nice event. We're working on a really nice gala as well. No questions so far. I just want to also bring light. As you know, this Saturday will be the 20th anniversary of September 11th. We all knew where we were 20 years ago, and please keep those people that perished and those people that suffered, the first responders that gave everything they had to ensure that they can get as many people out of there. They've since had a multitude of personal and physical issues as well. I mean, it's a time. It was one of our worst moments, but it also was one of our best moments because humanity really came together, and we all united for a cause. Kind of almost, I don't want to say it's the same, but where we are now, this pandemic, we all need to unite as one and really do what we need to do to get through this and get back to what we would call a normal life, meaning no masks, no restrictions, travel throughout the world, not being labeled, whether you're from Florida, whether you're from New York or from Canada, or even from the United States, going over to the European or Asian or even Caribbean markets. We really need to just put the politics aside, put all the personal issues aside, get through this, and just believe that although we may not have the same common beliefs, we're still one community, one body, regardless of your nationality, your political, religious beliefs. We all just need to respect and engage with everyone and just come through this. It's been challenging year and a half plus, and I don't want to go through another year and a half plus of this. So hopefully we will get through this, and we will get through this in a very positive manner sooner than later. I want to thank Wendy. I want to thank Ceci, and certainly Andrew, for all your information and output. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless you all. Until next time, we've got some great speakers coming up in October and November. Again, we're talking about Basel. We're going to have the legendary Bill Talbert. He was supposed to be on today, but because of because of the governor's award. He couldn't come on today, but we'll have him on a future show. Thank you very much. Again, if you could not watch this in its entirety, we do record this. It'll be out on our YouTube channel within a few days. You can watch it at your leisure. And we also have SoundCloud, so you can hear just the audio portion of it. If you're not subscribed, please do so. Thank you. Have a great day. Stay safe. And until next time, so long, everyone. Bye-bye. Hello, and welcome to the SFCA podcast. Our goal is to inspire travel. We want to expose you to what Miami and South Florida has to offer. From Key Biscayne to Coconut Grove, South Beach to Calle Ocho, and everywhere in between. Miami is a vibrant city and offers a wide array of popular attractions and venues. Come join us.